Hello and welcome to the very first episode of my brand new series, Why It's Expensive, the show where I come right here, pick a lens I wish I owned but can't afford to, and figure out why it costs so bloody much. And today we are kicking off with the $4,000 Zeiss Otus 55mm f1.4, a lens that's famously unaffordable, although Zeiss themselves might disagree with me on that.
We've been developing this lens for more than 3 years. The idea was to develop a lens at an uncompromising quality level, but at an affordable price.
Did you know that with $4,000 you can buy more than 44 of these nifty 50s? Now Zeiss is not known to be a company that messes around. This lens is essentially what they think is the most perfect standard lens for stills. This is the Rolls Royce of the 50-ish mm lenses. But to the average hobbyist photographer, this is just a $4,000 55mm lens that's massive, weighs a metric ton, and doesn't even have autofocus. So why $4,000? It basically narrows down to three things: R&D, materials and build, and image quality. Now of course I don't imagine that the R&D of this lens came cheap. This lens did take Zeiss 3 years to design, and they made sure to announce to the world that they were going to do it without any compromises in quality. And to their credit, it does clearly reflect in the image quality and build of the lens. The build of the lens is unsurprisingly pristine. The manual focus ring is pretty much as smooth as these things get, and it's got a very hefty all-metal build, including the hood, which blends in so well with the design I almost never want to take it off. There's also apparently 6 elements in this lens that are more valuable than gold, according to the official product video. So yes, they are not cheaping out on materials on this lens. And the image quality, of course, is nothing short of amazing. I'm pairing up this lens with the Canon 5D SR for scrutiny purposes, I guess. So looking at the images, downright incredible sharpness and resolution, even wide open at f1.4, and all the way into the corners where most lenses fail at, the Otus is able to resolve fine detail. Now this completely blew me away. I've never seen corners this sharp from any other lens. There's only a tiny bit of barrel distortion as well, and chromatic aberration, although you can still see it if you intentionally look for it, it is incredibly well suppressed. Now comparing the Otus to the roughly $1,400 Canon 50mm f1.2L, which is on its own a very expensive L-series lens already, and it is the workhorse of many working photographers, but the Otus is bigger and heavier than the 1.2 Canon despite having a narrower maximum aperture of only f1.4 and also lacking autofocus. But when comparing the images out of these two lenses, there is absolutely no competition at all. The Otus absolutely trumps the Canon in terms of sharpness from the dead center of the frame all the way to the corners of the frame, and even on a big full frame sensor at the extreme edges of the frame, the image is still tack sharp. And in this other comparison here, you can see just how well the Otus suppresses chromatic aberration. If you take a look at the image on the right, which is the one shot on the Canon 50 1.2, over at the words EOS, you can clearly see a significant amount of purple fringing. And if you look over to the left, the one shot on the Otus, you can almost see none of that. Now in terms of bokeh, the autofocus elements, I would actually say both of them are quite close, and I might just give the edge to the Canon for having a third of a stop brighter maximum aperture. So to really boil it down, the 55mm Otus is expensive because it is practically the best of its class, the very finest money can buy. And keep in mind, this lens is coming from a company that's working with other companies like ARRI to engineer cinema lenses, such as their ARRI Master Primes that cost upwards of $24,000 each. So I guess we can kind of forgive the sales director for calling the Otus affordable. But as affordable as he says it is, I still cannot afford this lens. This copy I'm holding here right now belongs to Lens Library. I'm standing in the library right now. I'm also collaborating with them to bring you this series. Otherwise, it's generally kind of hard to get a hold of gear you can't afford to make content revolving around, you know, unaffordable gear. But this lens is here to stay, and Lens Library welcomes absolutely everyone to just swing by and have a go at this lens for yourself alongside a lot of other incredibly seductive gear. This place is in Malaysia, so if you do happen to swing by Malaysia or you're already in the country, I'll leave some info down below on how to get here. So that is pretty much it for today, everybody. Any questions or comments, just leave them down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.